following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Greetings, Earthling. His Highness the Jackal.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Rubino. I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackal.
Welcome one, welcome all, welcome friends, welcome foes to another exciting episode of Inside the Jackal's Head. I am your host, Angel Espino, a.k.a. known around the world as the Jackal. That's right, folks. This is a beautiful evening, very chilly, very cold, January 30th, 2022. I hope everybody is having a great night tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show. We have a fantastic guest. And it's a very cold evening out here in South Florida. It's going to be about 40 degrees in my area. Right now it's about 50, and it feels like it's 30, but the wind chill factor is keeping it nice and cold. It's like global warming has dyslexia tonight, and it's a beautiful thing. I enjoy the weather. I like when it gets a little chilly out, and I hope everybody who's listening in the South Florida area is nice and taken care of and warm inside their house, drinking their cocoa, chocolate, or whatever beverage of choice they are drinking tonight. Whether it be alcoholic or non, we're going to have a lot of fun. I have Steve Hudgeons Jr., who's going to be on with me. He is renowned for his work with Mufon and within the UFO community. I met him over in 2016 at the Mufon symposium out in Orlando that I was able to attend with the Skywatchers Radio crew, Crystal Storm, and the other guy, Seth Allen Weiler, who's there with me. And he's a terrific gentleman, a fantastic guest to have on. He's been on Skywatchers with me before a while back, and I look forward to having him on here on Inside the Jackal's Head for the first time. I believe that he's ever been on this show, and look forward to talking to him about the world of ufology and how close we might be to actual disclosure. I am, of course, a lifelong ufologist and a lifelong follower of those things right there that fly in the sky. That's right, the UFO phenomenon. I've been following for decades the entire thing since I was a kid, and I had my own sightings as a kid. And it's always intrigued me and interested me to the point where I started to pay attention more and more. Not just because of movies like Star Wars or E.T. or anything like that. It was more of a thing where I was intrigued by the concept that we're not alone in the universe. And I really do believe that we're not alone in the universe. I think there is life out there. I think we're very close to finding out exactly what's going on. I have a couple of things that I wanted to get to in the news that one of them deals with this very concept. Are we alone, and when are we going to make contact? Yuri Geller went and put his name out there as knowing that it's going to happen very soon, but we're all probably going to be dead by the time it happens, so it's not that soon, which is a safe prediction, if you ask me. I love when these people come on, they say, oh, we're going to have a disclosure, but it's going to be in the next 100 years. Well, gee, thanks there, guy. How about the next 5 years, 2 years, maybe 6 months? I'd like to live to see this thing. I mean, between the COVID-19 and lupus and broken back and my thyroid issue and the LAPD, the Miami PD and NYPD and all these other crazy things happening with like the liberals. There's a good chance I might not make it. And not only that, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 44 years old now, so who knows how much longer I live to see. So I would like to be able to say that I lived long enough to see disclosure happening. So I hope I make it. I hope that it is something that I live to get to say that, hey, I was there when it happened. I lived through disclosure, and it was a beautiful thing. As it is right now, the way Yuri Geller put it, we'll find out more about that as I read a little bit of the article. Well, it doesn't look too good for folks my age or anybody close to it, but we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to, give a quick happy birthday to, and I'm not going to mention her full name just out of respect, but Rhonda, who is very familiar to one Rich Hoffman, who we love here on the show. Speaking of Mufon, and she's celebrating her birthday today. And I'm a gentleman, and she's a lady, so I'm not going to give out the date of birth or anything like that. But I wanted to wish her a happy birthday, and hopefully she gets many, many more happy birthdays in the future. Lots happening within the world of news. Our ex now presidente Donald Trump did a complete a breakdown of the of the Democrat Party yesterday on a rally that he held, and it was a beautiful thing. After spending the last year with Joe Biden at the helm, it's nice to see Donald Trump out there. He was in Conroe, Texas, and he went at them hard. I mean, he did the snake uh, uh, poem, I guess, and who knew he was a rhyme sayer? I had no idea. I guess hanging out with those rappers for 20 years, kind of like did it for him. But it was cool to see him go out there and rally up the troops for 2024, and of course for the midterm election coming up this year later on in a few months. Also, Tom Brady might announce after 22 seasons that he's going to retire. I'm going to get to that in a second. That's one of our big sports, news I wanted to cover. Let's see, monkey business happening. A bunch of monkeys on the loose, and there's a story there that I think a lot of folks need to start talking about because this could be another pandemic waiting to happen if this spreads any viruses out there. And you're going to want to observe and pay attention to this story when I get to it in a second. Again, a lot's happening in the world of news and politics, and a lot's happening in the world of ufology. And, we, of course, still all worried about this invisible virus that kills less than 1% of the population. But if you're not vaccinated, then you're part of the problem. Now, I want to give a health update. My father, who had COVID in 2020. He had it for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, and he had no real bad symptoms. He's still alive. God, thank God. I got it from him, and he got it from his girlfriend, of all things. But my father, in all his wisdom, came over and said, "Hey, son, how are you doing? By the way, I just tested positive for the Kung Flu virus." And I said, "Hey, Dad, thank you very much for infecting me. And if I die, now you know it's your fault." And I wanted to get myself tested just in case. And they told me, "Yep, you're carrying the virus." And I was like, "Really?" Because I don't feel anything. And I went through it without a problem. I didn't feel a thing, thankfully. Of course, a lot of folks don't have that luck, and they've died over this thing. So, while I joke because nothing happened to me or my dad or his girlfriend, those who are mourning the loss of their loved ones, my condolences to them. But it kills less than 1% of the people that it infects. Let's be honest. My dad has had the vaccination. He's been double boosted or whatever, and he has recently contracted the virus again. So I don't think the vaccines are working that well. I mean, how many times are we going to get a booster shot within the next 10 years? At some point we got to kind of like go back to normal. And I did enjoy yesterday's Trump rally because he made a point of, pointing that out that, look, he was part of getting us the vaccinations with Operation Warp Speed. He was behind that push, and I look, I'm a lifetime deplorable, right? You see the hat. If you're looking at my video screen, you'll see it, and this will be posted on YouTube sometime this week. If you see me at all in my publicity and my pictures over on my website, angelespino.com, you'll see me wearing a deplorable hat. Obviously, I voted for Big Orange, and I'll vote for him again in 2024. But let's be realistic. At some point, we have to get back to normal, and we got to overcome this fear of, oh my God, the vaccines, oh my God, the virus, oh my God, booster shots, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Masks, kids in cages, and we got to keep our kids 6 feet apart, but we're all in this together, which always cracks me up. As far as they keep telling us, that we have to have our social distancing, unless you're in a sporting event or you're out of Walmart, and everybody's like cramped together walking the aisles, and nobody gives a crap. So it's very funny the way people are going about this. I tend to look at it as, look, just live your life. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. If it's not, it's not. And I don't live my life in fear. Like I always say, I'd rather live like a man than die like a coward. And I go out. I touch stuff. Like I hardly wear a mask. And so far, I'm still here. Knock on wood. Still alive and kicking, and I'm not afraid of no invisible virus. And the science behind it is just so iffy that when you start looking at people that are like so heavy on the mask, you're like, are you serious? Do you understand that airborne viruses can go through your eyeballs, through your ears, your nose, and your mouth, and even your butthole? So any orifice that you have spread open, right, it's going to get in there. And not only that, if you touch stuff, right, with your hands or whatever, uh, it's going to catch on onto your clothing, to your hands. So the chances of you not catching it because you have a mask on is ridiculous. On top of that, the masks were not made for airborne viruses. They're made for very different reasons. It was mostly for in-hospital use, for patients' safety and doctor safety when it came to operations or surgeries and things of that nature. So the doctor's sweat or anything that's coming out of his nose and is dripping doesn't get into like an open wound, for example. Or if a doctor is opening up a patient, a little blood splurts out, it'll hit the mask, but it won't hit his face. There's little reasons like that why these things were invented. Had nothing to do with an airborne virus because there's no escaping it. It's airborne. You're gonna either breathe it in, or you're gonna put it in your clothing, or it's gonna catch onto your clothing, and you're gonna touch the surface, and eventually it'll get into you. So we gotta stop living in the fear. That's the message I want to give out to this thing. But watching Trump yesterday speak at this rally really show the difference between the way he speaks to the crowd and the way Joe Biden speaks to the crowd. And with Joe Biden, it's like you almost want to start cutting your wrists by listening to this guy. It's a frightening thing. Every time he speaks, and you can tell he's lying, and he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And same with Dr. Fauci and Nancy Pelosi and all these people. Well, they're lying to you, but there's something we can do. It's not like we could have the police go and arrest these people for lying and making this crap up. And now Neil Young and a few other musicians are going at Joe Rogan and Spotify and pulling their music out of Spotify in protest because they say Joe Rogan is lying to the public. And here you have The View also attacking Joe Rogan, saying he is lying to the public. A guy who took an alternative medicine when they told him he had the virus, and he got over it quick. Nothing happened to him. He's still alive. He's well. So what is he lying about? Joe Rogan is, for all intents and purposes, does he make mistakes? Of course, we're all human. Sometimes he'll say something that is wrong, but I've seen him often when he makes a mistake verbally and he finds out that he was wrong. He comes back and admits that, hey, I made a mistake. and I was wrong, and this is the facts, and he corrects himself, and that's very commendable on his part. He's really a genuine dude, and the guy gets 11 million plus listeners and viewers, and he gets better ratings than CNN and NBC and all these other networks. Sometimes some of them combined. So it's tough to take, the View or any of these nincompoops serious when they're saying, "Well, Joe Rogan's a liar. Don't listen to him. Listen to us." I'm sorry, that sounds like a bunch of dictators trying to tell us, who we should listen to. And the news media has been doing that for the last 3 years, 4 years now. And every time they do something like that, we find out later on they're lying their butts off. They lied about the Russia hoax with Donald Trump. They lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. We know that they lie about a lot of things when it comes to the Trump family. That's just a given at this point. They've been attacking that man for years because, and this is the honest truth, Chuck Schumer's one of his daughters works at Facebook. And let's follow some of the breadcrumbs here. Nancy Pelosi has been making millions of stock trading for years, over $400 million, and she didn't want that to be outed, but now everybody's finding out about it. And I think this is one of the things that she feared with Donald Trump, that he was going to out her. And there's a couple of other things. Of course, they've all gone like progressively crazy on their end. Joe Biden, of course, hates Donald Trump and all that because that's his political rival. And, Joe Rogan, I mean, not Joe Rogan, Joe Biden has his Hunter Biden, his son, in a very vulnerable position. The laptop scandal and everything else going on there has made them very, very, liable to lawsuits, possibly even prison time, as we have found out that they are in possible cahoots with the foreign governments, as they called him the big guy. Remember that? There's a lot of stuff going on, which if you guys didn't check out the rally with Donald Trump, I highly recommend it. If you go to my website, angelespino.com, and follow the first link, you can see it right on there. And you'll be able to check out the entire rally and the entire speech. It's funny because he gets up there and, he speaks, like Donald Trump, and he's able to be articulate, clear. Hell, like I said, he even did an entire thing where he was doing a poem. I mean, the guy's on point, right? And then you listen to somebody like Joe Biden, and 5 minutes into a press conference, he is lost in translation worse than Bill Murray. It's completely the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing, and that tells you a whole lot. So, guys, please check out my website, angelespino.com, and check out the article on there. You can also find it on publicstreamingnetwork.com/ pure solid news, which is inspired by one of our own hosts. The name Pure Solid News was inspired by Mitchell Nicholas Gerber, who is off tonight and will be back with us live, probably hoping next week. I think he's going to be doing a new time slot. I'm not sure. Speaking of which, we had to move the show up a little bit earlier from 10 p.m. Eastern, which has been our time slot for a long time, to 9 p.m. For personal reasons, and it might stay that way. I'm not too sure yet. I'll find out more this week if we're going to keep it at 9 or if we're going to go back to 10. And I'll be addressing that and letting you guys know what exactly is going on with the show as we move forward here in the new year of 2022. Last week, I had Nicholas Jacoby on the show, and that was fantastic. Great guest. The video for that will be on YouTube by tomorrow. I was hoping to get that out tonight, but I ran into a couple of roadblocks as I had to re-render the thing because one of the clips was missing, so the whole thing kind of fell apart. And once you start, fixing up and putting new clips in and whatnot, it kind of like has to pre-render again before you can render the file, and it takes forever. So not to get too into technical stuff, but hopefully we'll get this show on video by tomorrow, as well as the one with Nicholas Jacoby, a fantastic guest. If you guys have not checked out his stuff on YouTube and the other interviews he's done, I'm sure much better than the one with me, but it was a lot of fun having him on, and I really look forward to checking out his book and bringing him on the show again. Shout out to Paul Dale Roberts one more time for introducing me to Nicholas, and what a great pair of guys to know, and inspiring story. I mean, he's definitely gone through a whole lot of stuff in his life, and he's making a great go at it. So, an inspiration to us all. And from one inspiration to us all to another, Tom Brady, the legendary greatest quarterback that's ever lived, is maybe retiring after 22 years. We're not sure yet. Now, after 20 years in the NFL with the New England Patriots and what was it, 5, 6 titles. He went and started playing for the Buccaneers for the last 2 seasons, won a title with them. So I think he's got like 8 titles now, or something like along those crazy lines. But apparently ESPN read a report uh, saying that Tom Brady was going to retire after 22 seasons, and of course he just missed the finals by hair in his chinny chin chin of this year, and it's sad that he might go out without another Super Bowl. But he, brought another title to Tampa Bay, and we thank him for that. Tampa Bay is my favorite football team, uh, with the 49ers being my second favorite, and they're playing tonight. As I'm not going to be able to watch the game, I'm here with you guys, and hopefully the 49ers can pull it off. They're my second favorite team. I grew up actually a 49ers fan when I was out in the West Coast, growing up in California. But when I moved to Florida, I started rooting for the for Bucks and for other teams other than the Dolphins, because I hated the Dolphins. And I hated the Dolphins because I was a 49ers fan. And when you're a 49ers fan in the 80s, 90s, you rooted for Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Steve Young. Those were my guys growing up. So I couldn't stand Marino and Shula. I got a lot of love for Shula now because, one of the greatest coaches ever. But it took time to build that up, but I still am a huge Buccaneers fan, and it was great to see Brady bring down a championship down here in the Super Bowl ring, and I was hoping to get another year or two out of him. But if he retires, man, thank you, Tom Brady, and thank you for bringing in a ring down to the South Florida area. We thank him for that because, again, he is without a doubt the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. He left New England, came down to Florida, and said, "You know what? I'm going to win a ring." And he did it. He won a championship down here without Belichick or any of those guys. So he proved that he is the best ever, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he holds all kinds of records, and he still has the shape of a man half his age. So if he wanted to pull off another couple of years, I think he could do it. According to ESPN, though, he announced that he wasn't ready to make a decision, but he was close to. And then somebody read a report saying that he was going to retire. Then they pulled it back. I'm not sure yet what's going to happen, but we'll find out more in the next, I'm sure, 24 hours. What's happening there? So again, if he does retire, more power to him and Godspeed. I'm sure he's going to have a hell of a life to, live for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or however long he lives, because he's had a great career already. So, and again, he's in a great health. Now, getting onto the monkey business and the monkeys on the loose, and I'm not talking about the monkeys, the singing group. I'm talking about the monkey Uh, oh wait, let me I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a little feedback. Let me get that out of there. Sorry about that. Now, there is a chance that there could be a monkey outbreak. Monkeys on the loose, and I'm not talking again about Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, or any of those guys, not Peter Tork or Michael Nesmith, the rest in peace, who just recently passed away. But there is a little scary news happening where a bunch of monkeys came out of a truck that had a spill, and a bunch of them got loose, and one of them, might have infected a human. So who knows how many people might have been scratched or whatever by this monkey. They ended up killing the monkeys after they found these monkeys running around. But we don't know yet what's happening with the infection that they had, the viruses they were carrying. Now this is scary, folks, because think about this. We're dealing with a virus that came out of China, that came off a bat, right? When the last time that we know of that a monkey gave a human being a virus, some said it was the HIV virus, right? Now, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy nutcase here, but in case these monkeys are sick with some kind of virus, this could be very, very troublesome if it's some that is transmitted sexually, or if it's transmitted, by air or whatever. So we got to be very careful. This might be the next big outbreak. And, first of all, we need to stop infecting these animals and being so careless with the transporting of the animals, and what has been happening the last few years, because these things do get out, and it's sad that we are doing experiments on animals, at all, but that's, I guess, how science does it. And it says here, we just found out that a woman is now experiencing health problems after coming into contact with the lab monkeys. The ones that escaped after a crash, and this happened in the Pennsylvania highway. Michelle Fallon witnessed the truck crash Friday while she says she was following a trailer that had a bunch of monkeys on it. It had about 100 animals in there. She stopped to help, and she says, "I thought it was zoo monkeys." Fallon said, and she said, "I don't know if there were animals. These animals were test monkeys, but she said that she thought they were from like a local zoo." Now, Fallon said, "I don't know. I don't know these were animals that were being tested on. The monkeys were from East Africa, heading to a test lab." And she said, "I thought they were okay, like they had their shots and they were good. They've been checked and whatnot." She said, and she didn't know that they could have had a disease or whatever. But after checking on the driver, she went and started looking around, and of course, came in contact with one that scratched her or something, and that she got now health issues. Now, the driver, this is where it gets kind of scary. He thought he had a bunch of cats in there and had no clue that they were carrying monkeys with viruses. Huh? How does that happen? How are you driving monkeys and you don't even know it? Think about that for a second. And I'm going to quote her, which says, "I was there and I touched everything." Big mistake, Fallon said. Fallon is now on the edge and unsure of what to do. Her close contact had pink eye. So this led to pink eye and flu-like symptoms. She says she walked through their poop, and then they touched their crates, and she tried to pet them. That's a big mistake. Never do that. And now I don't know what's going on, Fallon said. See, here's another thing, folks. If you come across a crate where monkeys just escaped from, and there's a truck that's just flipped over or whatever. Don't go petting the monkeys. That's a big no-no. This is how like horror movie starts. Next, you know, we have a zombie apocalypse. So don't do that. Don't go petting the monkeys. I know they're nice and furry and cute, but don't pet the monkeys. One of these monkeys, even though they're small, could kill you. Literally, if they have rabies or whatever, or even worse, if they're just in fear for their lives, they're strong enough to kill a person. Now, it says as a precaution, she's received her first rabies vaccination and has been prescribed antiviral medication. Doctors continue to monitor her symptoms. Meanwhile, questions remain about what sort of medical research the monkeys are being used for and what they could be infected with. That's the big question. Now, of course, PETA is involved, and PETA is going to be investigating this, and hopefully they can get to the bottom of this. I'm going to keep everybody updated as more news comes forward on this story, because this could be the next big thing. So this is a very scary stuff, folks. Very, very scary stuff. The monkeys are on the loose, and they're not just in Congress. They're now, you know, man, that was too easy. I'm sorry. Uh, but we got to be careful. Look, again, if monkeys are running around, don't go petting them. Please, people, leave the monkey business alone. All right. If you see any animals coming off a truck that is in a crash and you see crates, don't go and start petting these animals. I know they might look cute, they might look nice, but it's none of your business. Stop trying to be nice to these animals. They probably are infected with something. Now, getting to some ufology news. I know you guys are familiar with the name of Yuri Geller, and he's a world-renowned so-called psychic. He is known for bending spoons, which I don't know that was a psychic thing, but apparently he could look at it and the spoon will start to bend. Of course, that's an illusion trick, but after a baffling discovery, Yuri Geller warns NASA to prepare for an alien invasion. But here's the kicker. He says, I don't know how to take this. It says here in the article, but legendary spoon bender Yuri Geller said that he is, after some testing, uh, suggesting that yes, NASA needs to be warned about a possible alien invasion. According to Geller, scientists found a huge energy source 4,000 light years away. So we have some time. And that's pretty long distance there, Yuri. But Yuri said that 70, and then, by the way, he's 75 now. He believes that humans may have stumbled upon the shit chat of a superior being of race from outer space, and the Daily Star reported that the self-proclaimed psychic thinks it might mean aliens are heading our way, or they might just be ordering an intergalactic, drive-through. Who the heck knows? I mean, I don't know. Now, he also announced that this on Instagram, and he said a team of a team mapping radio waves in the universe has discovered something unusual that reckons uh, the reckons to be a giant burst of energy 3 times an hour, and it's unlike anything astronomers have seen before. No doubt in my mind, he said, that this is connected to alien intelligence, very, very superior to ours. And they're going to start deciphering their message, and they're preparing for a mass landing. And this is where it gets really funny. He says that he believes this is going to happen somewhere in the United States, and it might be something like we see in the movies where they land on the White House lawn or the whole 9 yards. But being 4,000 years away, his prediction is that these supposed alien beings are going to be here sometime in the next 75 to 100 years. So we got some time before we all get, alien invaded and killed off by the ETs. Or maybe not. Maybe they come down here and they say, "Hey, humans, we got your broadcast and we're all friendly and we want to join your planet and have you join our intergalactic brotherhood, and we're all going to be buddies and we're going to share our technologies with you." I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even think that Yuri Geller really knows what's going to happen, but I would take that with a huge grain of salt. If you want to read the whole article, again, go to angelespino.com or go to Pure Solid News over on the Public Streaming Network.com website. We are live on both publicstreamingnetwork.com and, of course, SoFloRadio.com. No matter what way you're listening to us, we are live every week. And until the aliens come down and kill us, or the monkeys turn us into zombies, then we might not be live for much longer. So, like I said in the beginning, something's going to kill us. It might be aliens, it might be monkeys, it might be the NYPD, it might be, I don't know, who the heck knows at this point. It might be Joe Biden himself. I have no idea anymore at this point. But I will tell you this much. If aliens do land on the White House lawn and they do make their self-announced, I hope we treat them with a little bit more respect if they are friendly than you see in some of these movies. Movies for especially the alien movies, for as great as they are, always like to treat the subject of aliens as these evil creatures from other planets. Now, my theory and thinking on this is if aliens are real and they are out there, and as you know, I'm an alien aficionado. I've been to the symposium. I've dealt with a lot of ufologists over the years. Heck, we're going to speak to Steve Hudgins Jr. here in a little bit and talk alien with him. As far as I'm concerned, if they are out there, I'm pretty sure they can make it all the way out here. They're not going to just come down here and start killing everybody. I mean, they're probably scientists. They're probably just trying to do their thing. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to be just fine. So I'm not too concerned about the aliens coming down and killing us all. Even though it could happen, you never know. I mean, it's liable that I could be wrong. It's been known to happen from time to time that I've been wrong, and and if that's the case, you gotta be ready for the aliens. I don't know exactly how you could be ready for the aliens because if they can make it here from like 4,000 light years away within less than 100 years, these are some advanced beings, and I'm pretty sure that bullets are not going to stop them. If you have a ship that can travel faster than light, I'm pretty sure that your AR-15s or your machine guns or whatever, it's not going to be enough to stop these beings. So I'm not worried about going into a battle with a bunch of aliens because we stand no chance against them. And look, unless there really are, uh, I guess, some species that can take like things like radar, for example. I mean, that's the big rumor how the aliens or the alien ship came down in Roswell that radars took them down. So if that's a problem for them, that might be the way to bring some of these suckers down. I have no clue. I couldn't speak to that, but all I gotta say is that between aliens, monkeys, and viruses, it's a heck of a life we're living here in Florida now, in the world of planet Earth. Speaking of which, again, it's very cold out tonight. It's gonna be, I think at the coldest, probably 30 degrees. They said in my area. So everybody who's out here, please make sure you're keeping warm on this very frosty evening. And I hope that we don't have any casualties. It'd be kind of cool if it snowed a little bit, or if we had like frost or something in the cars in the morning. That'd be kind of neat, as it's gonna get really cold. I was joking with my dad earlier about how global warming has kind of like dyslexia right now, because it's supposed to be like warming up, and we're getting colder as now we're hitting February. And I remember when I was a kid, when it was like December, January, the beginning of the month of January, that's when we had our winters. That's when it got cold. And then once the month of January was over and February would hit, it would start warming up a little bit. It's completely gone the opposite way now as it's getting later into the second month. It's when the cold starts to hit. And I've noticed that over the last 10 years. I don't know if that's global warming, global cooling. I don't know if maybe that's the flat Earth playing a trick on us. I have no idea. What I do know is that in the next few minutes, I'm going to go on a break, and I'm going to get my guest on, who I've been looking forward to having on for a very long time, back on the show here, Steve Hudgins Jr. And one funny thing about him, and that really cracked me up when I met him. He has that alien gray statue that he's been photographed with, which he owns. And we were lucky enough to have the statue over at our table at Mufon. And I went to take a picture with the statue. I think Crystal, who was a Skywatchers radio member, might have been the one who took the picture. I don't have it. I think she still has. But we all kind of took photographs with it, and I went to hug it, and everybody's like, "No, don't touch it! You're gonna break the arms." And I felt like a nincompoop. I was like, "Oh, I don't want to break it," and it was really just the coolest looking little gray alien statue. So I'm gonna ask him if it's still with him, if nobody's broken it or anything. Luckily, it didn't break under my watch. Thank God. They left it there on the table, I think, for like 20, 30 minutes. And they went and got food or refreshments or whatever. And they came back, and we were really careful about, the alien and making sure that nothing happened to it, which was a great deal of fun. I missed that symposium. Hopefully, I'll get to go back out in the near future and join some of the goodies and the fun with Mufon. I've been a long time fan of Mufon. I love what they do with the ufology field, and I've been very lucky to meet a lot of Mufon members like Rich Hoffman and Steve Hudgens Jr. and just they're a great organization. Say what you want to say about some of their past, and you know just whatever mental block you have on what they're all about. They do look into a lot of great stuff, and they're a very respectable bunch. But getting to Steve here, he happens to be someone very important to those of us that are fans of MUFON and the work they do. We're going to talk about what he brings to the field. He was born in 1950 in Fort Worth, Texas, and he graduated in 1968 at Diamond Hill Jarvis. He joined the U.S. Navy in 1969. Has 4.5 years of honorable service and 3.5 years of honorable service to the U.S. Navy, by the way, in the reserves. And Steve joined MUFON in 1991, so he's been around with them for decades and conducted independent investigations on UFOs for about 20 plus years. During his time, he's investigated over 200 cases for MUFON. So, like I said, these people investigate the important cases that we're all interested in, finding out more information on to see if it's real or not. In 1995, Steve was appointed as Texas Chief Investigator. He was part of the original STAR team conducting STAR team investigations in Texas. In 2008, he led a group of field investigators to Stephenville, Dublin, Texas, to investigate what is now known as the Stephenville Lights. In 2009, he became the Mufon State Director of Texas until 2012. Steve has 20 years of community service with many volunteer organizations such as Little Leagues, Neighborhood Council, Community Policing, and the Fort Worth Police Department COP search team. COP based radio operator. Steve is, let me see, an estimator of draftmen. He was worked for OSHA, OSHA outreach trainer and safety director of multiple $1 million construction companies. He's also was at one point the host of the Texas UFO radio show. He also was the owner of very like I said, he also is the owner of the very little lifelike alien gray sculpture, which is just awesome to look at in person. And man, like I said, I have a lot of fond memories of the 2016 symposium, and he's a great guy. I really wanted to have him on here. So we're gonna hit break here in a few minutes. When we come back, we're gonna have Steve on with us, and we're gonna pick his brain on ufology for the next hour. We're going to talk to him about how he feels about disclosure, what he thinks is happening, if he thinks Yuri Geller is right, or if he thinks that we need to take what Yuri Geller says with a big grain of salt, which is what I'm thinking. Huge grain of salt. And we're going to find out more about what he's been up to in the last few years since I last was able to speak to him and have him on the show. This is going to be a lot of fun. So please, folks, don't go nowhere. Stick around. Make your beds nice and comfy if you're laying in bed listening to us or watching us later on. Make sure you enjoy the rest of the evening nice and comfortable. It's going to be a cold night, and we're going to talk about aliens. So be careful, because if you see some eyes looking at you in the window, it might just be the Greys outside trying to sneak a peek of what's going on inside the Jackal's head. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head here live on SoFlo Radio and PSN Radio. And again, thank you all for sticking around and staying with me alive and well on this cold, chilly night here in South Florida. It is now about 9:56 p.m., and it's going to get a lot colder as we're expecting record-breaking temperatures. And I know one person knows a whole lot about the coldness of the weather, and that's because of where he's from. It gets pretty nippy, and that's my guest, Steve Hudgins Jr., who is a man of many, many, many talents, but one of which is ufology. And I got the honor of meeting him back in 2016 at the symposium, and like I said earlier, and it's just an honor to be able to bring him on the show here on Inside Jackal's Head. We had him on before on Skywatchers, but never on this particular show, and I've been wanting to bring him on for a long time. Steve, thank you so much for being here with me. I greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on.
The honor is all mine, believe me. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and I mean that. I don't just say it. I actually mean it. And as I said earlier, you are, of course, the caretaker of this little gray alien sculpture statue, and it's amazing. I got to see it live in person in 2016, and what a cool little statue that is. I mean, it really is neat. I was afraid I was going to break it because, it's very delicate, and they told me, don't touch it. And I'm like, what? What did I do? And they're like, be careful. You don't want to break it because Steve will kill you. And I'm like, I don't want to die.
No. I've had that thing. I don't know how many years I've had it, but it does have, it's made out of fiberglass. Yep. And it does have some fragile areas. And I was told not to lift it by the arms.
Yep.
You can go ahead and scoop your hands up under the armpits and carry it that way. Or I just go right between the legs and pick it up and carry it wherever I want to go with it. But I take that thing everywhere I go with me, and people want to have a picture with it.
Yes.
And the little kids, 5 and 6 years old, hey, look, an alien, man. They know what it's all about. and then they want to have a picture with it. And
You know,
it comes.
it's funny because you would figure that it might spook some of these kids out, but kids are like totally in on the whole alien thing, aren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was actually surprised, and yeah, they love that thing, and some of the little smaller ones are kind of iffy and kind of spooky because they probably haven't seen anything like that before. Plus, it's 3 feet taller than them, so so anyway. But it comes from a place that in Australia, and I haven't heard much from them lately. But when I first saw that thing, I said I want one of those. I've got to get one of those. So I looked it up, and I forget how many hundreds of dollars it was, but I said, oh man, I'm going to get my uh, tax money when I get back to my tax rebate and refund, and go buy one of those. And about a month later, this is when I had my radio show, and
Mhm.
about a month later, I got a phone call, and it was a gentleman that I've been talking with for a while, and he gets some of those things and he sells them, and he was in another state, but he said, I got a good deal for you, and I said, okay, what is it? He says, the company wants to give you one of those aliens, and I said, oh, okay. I was really shocked and surprised, and he said, I said, well, okay, what we want me to advertise it and things like that? And, oh yeah, yeah, you need to advertise on your show and give it a write up. And I don't know if the write up that I wrote is still there or not on their website, but he said there's another thing that you're going to like. I said, what's that? He said, we have another dealer that deals with them and sells them, and he's lives in Fort Worth. That's where I live, in Fort Worth. So all I had to do is just drive to the south of town, south side of Fort Worth, and pick it up and bring it home. That's all I had to do to it, and I've had it ever since. And I take it everywhere I go, and I advertise it still to this day.
Very nice. Now, do you have access to more of them, or is this like something that they don't make
Uh,
anymore?
no, I don't. I don't have access to them. Now they made a different one, and I think it's his right arm is up at the elbow, and it has a peace sign. And I
Ah,
don't really care for that one too much, but I'm pretty sure they're still selling them. I don't know for sure. I haven't
oh
heard from
man,
them in
that's so
years.
cool. So yours is kind of like a limited edition.
I don't know if it's actually a limited edition or not, but I know there's two different types of them.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Whenever I have the extra cash, I'm gonna try to see if I can purchase one of those. Just have it here next to me, next to my wall of ufology.
I'll
Every
have
day I
I'll
need
let
something nice to add to my collection.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just want one. I know what you want, but hey, I'll look it up and get the website, and I'll send it to you.
Oh, that'd be great. Please, yeah, I'd
I
love
think
that.
it's even.com or something, but I may be wrong. I'll have to look it up.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Now, I want to tell the audience a little bit more about you. I read your bio, but I want you to go into detail because, like I said, you're a man of many talents. You've been around with Mufon for a long time. You had, of course,
Hmm.
your own radio show,
Hmm.
and you've been dealing with this subject for a long time.
Yes.
Uh, what are some of the cases that you worked on that people might be like, "Oh, I know that case."
Well, the Stephenville case of
Yep.
2008, that was a very, very large case, and it sort of came into us from it was it eventually was a news reporter from down there, and of course she just recently passed away with COVID, but she alerted us to it, and when that started, it just took off like a bullet because one of the constable down there also. I'm not going to name names because I'm not supposed to do that, but the
Right.
constable down there also was a witness to an event during this time, and that really took off. And so next thing I know, we had to set up and do an investigation down there, and we had no idea how many people were actually viewing things down there because we never got a good count out of it. But the news reporter that was down there, she set up a meeting place for us to go to, and uh, it was at a auction barn down in Dublin. And the guy he's all excited. It's going to be good for his place or something like that. But he cleaned it all up and everything. And when I found out it was an auction barn, I'm in Texas. I know what the pens are and stuff like that. My dad was a truck driver with cattle. I've been around all that. I live within 2 miles of the stockyards down here in Fort Worth, the historic stockyards, all my life. So I wasn't really looking forward to going down to the pens and have a big meeting. So in the middle of that, before it really took off, there was an organization there, and it escapes the name escapes me, but they offered a building that they had there in Dublin, and they said that we could have the meeting there, and they would provide the Dublin Dr. Pepper and the popcorn.
Okay.
So I said,
oh, nice.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better to me. So we got all set up to go down there, and it was on a Saturday around 1 o'clock, I believe. And so we got down there early, and I was a chief investigator then, and we took a group of field investigators down there with us, and we walked in, we started setting everything up, and I started noticing that the room started filling up, and more people were coming in, and the building was assessed at 500 people. And
wow.
And before it was over with, they had to lock the door because there's too many people coming in. And man, I had to go. I started to open the place, open up the conversation to get this thing going. And I was doing interviews, and reporters were there doing interviews, and they finally tapped me on the shoulders. Hey, we're ready to go. So I went up there and I had already been informing people that we didn't want anybody videoing or any of that kind of thing, and
right,
kind of upset a few people. But when I went up there to the podium, I looked at the podium. I didn't look up, but there was microphones. Just looked like a cactus. There were so many microphones stuck to the top of this podium, and that's when I looked up. And there it was, ABC, CBS, NBC, everybody that had a radio show or news station, they were there. And I was all of a sudden in shock. and I'm more introverted than I'm extroverted. And being in crowds,
likewise.
I just really don't like that. But but anyway, I got over it really quick. And so we set our little piece, introduction, that kind of a thing. And I said, okay, I said, how many people are here that want to that have had an experience, that want to talk about your experience to one of our field investigators? The whole crowd raised a hand. Everybody a witness. They wanted to tell us about a story. And I'm going to my head here, man, what have we got ourselves into? I only had about 7 field investigators. And so we set up a little small room that was off to the side. And we took witness reports all the rest of the day. And then, oh man,
wow.
it was an experience, yes. But during our investigation, one thing, all around Dublin, the entire area around Dublin, there's a military exercise zone. All of the jet planes come down there, and that's where they play. And we also found out that they have at least 9,000 different, what do you call those, flares that they drop?
Okay, yeah.
They have about 9,000 different kinds that do different things. And the majority of things that the people were seeing down there were orange orbs. So there's your flare. They were seeing flares and stuff like that. I just don't understand that they'd be down there all those years and didn't know what a jet was when it flew past them. If you know what I mean? And
it's funny because a lot of people mistake those, and also like Chinese lanterns have been mistaken for years as UFOs. Yes. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that the human eye sometimes do make mistakes, and we do misidentify things. But I've heard a lot of people mistake flares for UFOs, and that doesn't shock me that was part of the case there.
It was. Most of them were the flares, and
yeah,
a lot of photographs we looked at and videos and to this day, it's even the photos and the videos, and I can identify birds, lens flares, reflections, dust, dirt, bugs. Man, I can identify all that stuff. I've seen so many of them. And anything I'm not too sure of, I'll look it up on the internet. What does a bug look like when it's, out of focus on a lens, and it'll pop up, and you find just about any kind of reference that you want. But there was one incident there on one day with 4 or 5 police officers in Stephenville, Texas, during this time, and they were not together. They were on patrol and spread out around town, and they saw what I call the flying Walmart.
Whoa, the flying Walmart? Okay.
The flying Walmart. That's what I call it. I call it the flying Walmart. It was 1 mile long and half a mile wide.
Wow.
And it was going
so
slowly.
Like a building in the sky.
Yes, it was, and it had I don't want to call them stanchions, but that had extrusions coming out of the middle of it from top and bottom. Like, I wouldn't call it buildings, but maybe poles, or I don't know. There's that structure built out on each side, and it was going slowly over downtown Stephenville.
Wow!
And for about, I don't know, 30 seconds or 45 seconds, then it took off. And so I call that the flying Walmart. Now something like that, you got to take a double take on that, especially when you had police officers telling you what it was, and they didn't want to tell their names for a long time because they didn't want to get fired. That was what they were worried about. And to this day, I don't know what their names are. I have no idea. I just got the report from the reporter.
It's funny because I saw footage not long ago about maybe a couple of months ago where it showed what looked like pyramids in the sky floating around, and there, some people were swearing these were authentic footage of pyramids in the sky. When you look at a craft that can be that large, a building structure wouldn't shock me to see something that big. I myself had a couple of sightings when I was a kid, but they weren't as large as that. And it was out in California, one here in Florida. That's what kind of got me started on the whole subject. And when I started skywatching, now I've seen maybe several hundred objects that I can't identify that are not satellites, because we started tracking satellites with technology. Thankfully, we were able to do that. And we were able to track what was satellites. I could easily tell what's debris, bugs, stuff like that as well. And what the kicker is, Steve, I purposely hoaxed a video once to see how easily people are, led to believe that, they're looking at alien spaceships. And this is the funniest thing. I took, from outside my house, I took footage of an airplane coming right towards me. It was just a random airplane, and it was coming towards me, and I acted in the video like I was shocked. I was like, "Oh my God, there's a ship just lingering in the sky. It's not moving, and it's been there for 30 minutes." And the video was no more than maybe a minute long because the airplane eventually caught up and kept going. And at some point, you stop seeing an orb and you see what it is, which is an airplane when you're looking at it through a cheaper camera. And I posted it on YouTube. This is years ago when YouTube was still kind of a new thing. And sure, lo and behold, sure enough, people fell for it. It had almost 1 million views within a month. People were going crazy, saying, "Oh my God, you need to contact Mufon and the FBI and the CIA and Oprah and all kinds of people, and just start getting this out there. This is amazing footage." And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I know for a fact that's an airplane. So when I hear reports, I don't stress out about it as much because a lot of people just make mistakes when it comes to a lot of these reports, and that's a sad part of it. Do you think more and more people should go on and investigate and do sky watching to learn how to decipher what really could be unidentified instead of just having people report randomly? Because a lot of that now gets mixed, and it looks like we're constantly being invaded by aliens, which we're not.
Yes, it never hurts to investigate on your own, and you can do that on Google. I mean, You can ask Google to show you an airplane at night coming right at you, and then show you what it's like, what it looks like. There was something I failed to mention a while ago, something that really ruined everything when Stephenville was going on, and that was some reporters or investigators or something came in from Japan. You ready for this one? They came into Japan, from Japan, and they let it known that they would pay $1,000 per second for any video of a UFO that Mufon said was good and unknown. They would pay that. And of course, we never found anything down there that was on film that we couldn't say, well, we know what that is. So we got a real bad rap on that because Mufon's hiding everything. So, but yes, it never hurts to understand what you're looking at.
You know, it's funny because I've gotten into arguments defending Mufon with people who are like, why don't they just bring out all the information? Just tell us what they know. And I'm like, because you might not want to hear exactly all the information they have, because a lot of it are, might be misidentified or this or that. But how many cases would you say Mufon has investigated over the years? I know you've done several hundred.
Oh yes, I've done. You missed my tally by 10.
Oh, okay, but several thousands, a couple thousands.
Yes, I've done several thousand of these cases. I've been doing. I got to where I was looking at percentages, and I've done this for a long time. And right now, at the moment, you take all of Mufon's cases are over 100,000.
Wow.
I think it's 114 something thousand, but 27% of them are unknown. And 45% are known. We know what they are. 5% are hoaxes. 12% are just information only, and 11% are just data. That's just data. Somebody will say something, and they don't identify themselves, and it's just information. But used to the 43% for the unknowns or for the identifications was a little lower than that. But with our education, you're talking about education, about what you see and all this kind of thing. We started training exercises with our field investigators, and we are showing them what to look for in these photos and videos and how to identify what's in them. And I saw a steep change in the year 2012. 2013 is when the unknowns and the identifieds came together and were equal on the graph, and then they turned, and now the IFOs are more than the unknowns, and it's drastically changed now. So with proper education, they're identifying more and more what they're seeing, and the unknowns are becoming less and less and less. But that doesn't mean they're going away.
No, definitely not. In fact, I think we're going to see more and more known and identifiable crafts. But what do you make of the Pentagon coming forward and saying that some of this stuff not only is it real, they've been investigating and finally opening up a little bit about what they might be, hiding from the rest of us?
I look at it a little different than that. I don't think they're getting ready to expose anything. What I think it's more like, a lot of people are at the moment now. It's the government will say, well, how it is. People see things and they call it UFO. Yeah, UFOs we know UFOs are out there, but they call them different things now.
Right.
UAPs or something like that. And they're still a UFO to me. And they're trying to change the narrative. And I don't know if that's to hide what they're doing a little better, or maybe it's them exercising a little more to get out there with, because I believe the secret space program is full blown.
Yeah,
and
I believe that too. Yeah.
I look at it like this. Let's go back to Stephenville for a minute, and the flying Walmart going over Stephenville real slow. Now, if you were an alien from another world and you're down there with a massive ship, would you fly it over the planet of the apes that have enough bullets and rockets and things and jet planes that they know the jet planes are flying around that might damage their spaceship to get back home? Would you want to do that and go slow about it? I wouldn't. I thoroughly believe that if any aliens are here looking at us, they're going to be invisible. And what we're seeing is our equipment. That's what I believe.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of it is either it could be back engineered crafts, or it could be just
Yes.
our own black budget projects that have nothing to do with aliens whatsoever. I mean, the stealth bomber for years was misidentified as a UFO, and then we come to find out, oh, that's just one of ours. They had
Yes.
one called the Avenger, which looked like almost a pyramid when you look at it from a certain
Uh-huh.
angle, and they're not by the Avenger 2 or 3 or something like that. And I'm not talking about the superhero comics either.
Right.
Uh, and these are things that we've had in black budget projects for a long time. I mean, billions and billions of dollars, Steve, are spent on these things that we have no idea what exactly they have. And one thing I did love about the previous presidential administration with Donald Trump was the Space Force,
Yes.
and him putting that forward opened a lot of eyes, because I think that was a way of acknowledging that they're not just looking for little rocks that might hit the earth, but they might be on the lookout for anything that might be coming towards us as a possible invasion of, another race, or ETs, or anything that might, be damaging to our way of life here. And, I think that was a good move on the president's part. What are your thoughts on the Space Force?
Um, I think it's like a baby step.
Correct. Yeah. I
Everybody
agree
does
with
things
that.
in
Yeah.
baby steps, and it's just like they just kind of open the door a little bit. But
Yep.
I'm also expecting a red flag event. I don't know when it's going to happen, but let's see who said that. It was one of the presidents. He said that basically the only way to get the world together is to have an outside threat.
Ronald Reagan, I believe, is the
Yeah, I
one who
think it
said
was
that.
him.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I'm expecting that. I mean, when it really comes to push to shove, before we annihilate everyone with the nuclear weapons, I believe there's going to be an outside force come in and stop everything. And that outside force is not really what we think it is,
Mm.
unless it's something that's that we know fully well about at the same time. But I'm expecting that.
Now, are you familiar with "Behold the Pale Horse," written by William Cooper back in the late '80s, early
Oh
'90s?
man, that was a long time ago. Yes.
Yeah. In the book, he spoke about just that, a red flag event, which is going to be orchestrated by the government to fool the masses.
Yes.
And I do believe what he wrote in that book to be accurate. I think we're going to face something like that. And with the way the population is behaving now, where, we're constantly at war, we've been at, there's been wars going on for several hundred years.
Hmm.
That would be, like Reagan said, a way to unite the countries into a way of kind of like, helping each other out. But
Hmm.
also that could lead to a one world government, which we've also been in fear of for many
Yes,
decades.
that's true. Very true. I haven't
Yeah.
overlooked that either.
It's scary times we're living in, and that's the one fear I have about this thing, is that, yeah, it might unite us as human beings, but the governments will take full advantage of that, and that's scary in itself. I mean,
Yeah, it
nobody
really is.
wants to live under a one world communist government, scaring the
No,
population.
no.
Think about it. We're living in a country here in the U.S. where we're all, scared of an unseen virus. It kills less than 1% of the population, and we're all messed up. And there's mandates going on by the left. There's talk by the right.
Hmm.
Everybody's talking all this nonsense. Nobody
Hmm.
knows what's going on. Imagine aliens.
Hmm.
You know, that's
Yeah, imagine those aliens coming down here.
that's a
What?
completely different animal.
Yeah,
Uh,
what kind of virus are they going to bring?
That's another thing. Even though I would think that an alien race that comes from like 4,000 or 5,000 light years away, or 1,000 light years, and have that kind of technology, I would hope they would have eradicated the viruses by that point,
You would think so.
right? Even though, of course, we send astronauts to the moon, when they come back down, they're, sequestered for a while just in case.
Hmm.
They bring down any viruses from like the moon, back when we had the space program going to the moon. Of course, we haven't been back to the moon since this, since forever. But Do you think we actually ever went to the moon, or are you one of the believers
I,
we were
I
actually
don't
landed
know.
there?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if they went, fine. If they didn't, that's fine too. I don't care. I mean,
Mm.
I just don't care. And if they lied about it, well, yeah, good show. It was pretty good while it lasted. But I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
I
a case can be made for both. They had a reason for lying because there was a space program, the space race with Russia, and
yes,
it was for global dominance on space and technology, and everybody wanted to be the big daddy of the planet, basically, and that was a big deal back then. Russia beat us to the space race when they orbited the Earth. Before we did, so landing on the moon was like a very big deal. But when you think about it, we have more technology in a smartphone than
yes,
they had in a space capsule that went to the moon
yes,
outside of the Earth. That's amazing, Steve.
yes. That brings up a point I'm about to make. You ready for this? I got to thinking about this one day, and I says, how long was man in an animal drawn vehicle?
Mm.
Take a guess.
Well, let me see.
You have to think about that,
Until
don't you?
the cars came into existence forever, because we had horses, we had all kinds of different animals of which we rode back in the back of for hundreds of thousands of years, probably.
It's
Who knows?
it's estimated at 2,500 years.
Okay. Well, that we
Now,
know of.
yeah, that we know of. So when they stepped off of this animal drawn vehicle and went to the moon, how many years was that?
Oh, that was in a couple of decades they put that together.
Like about 60 years, 65 years,
Right.
something like that. Why
Yep.
is it? See, from the time we stepped off the animal drawn vehicle, they started putting motors and wagons and things of that nature. Why is it that back then and 120 years later, we're still only getting 21 miles to a gallon in those damn cars?
That's a good point. They could do better than that. It's
Of
just
course.
they don't want to, because that's where the money's at. It's like
It's because they're
Ford can
putting the
make.
money somewhere else.
That's correct. Ford can make a bumper that doesn't fall off if you tap it the right way. But
Hmm.
they ain't gonna do that, because if they do that, then you're never gonna get the bumper fixed. So they need
Yeah,
things to break down. Everything, and I've talked about this before. Everything you buy that is made with a lifespan, and it's made to break down. Whether
sure.
it's a computer, TV, cars, they have a lifespan, and it's put on by the manufacturer for a reason. Because if it works perfect from the beginning, you'll never need to replace it.
That's
So,
true. They're built
that-
to break down.
yeah. Which is also the scary part about the virus and everything in between when it comes to diseases and viruses. When was the last time they cured anything, really?
Oh, well, never. You'd
Yeah.
think they'd have a cure for cancer by now, but no.
That-
There's a new variant to the COVID. It's down here in Texas.
Oh, what are they
Now,
calling this?
I forget what it's, some kind of stupid red something or other. I forget now what it is. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, in Texas, what, somebody landing a plane or something? I said, oh no, it's coming across from the south border. That's where it's coming from.
Correct. Yeah.
And they're flying them all over the country. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. No, this is what kicks me in the groin and really angers me. A lot of the illegals that are coming in are not being vaccinated, checked, or anything. They're just
No.
being brought in and shipped. But yeah, we all have to have masks. They're demanding us to get vaccinated. First responders are going to get fired if they're not vaccinated.
Yeah.
And the first wave of the virus that mutated was called the Delta
Right.
virus. And I often joked on the show here, and I actually got a strike on YouTube because
Oh
I
yeah.
said, you know why it's called Delta virus? Because they're being shipped from Delta Airlines, all these illegals, and they're shipping them on Delta Airlines at 4 in the morning to your state where they're having spikes, and they're trying to say, oh, it's because you go to church. No, you
Yeah.
nincompoop, it's because you're bringing illegals and you're not vexing them right, and you send them all over the country at 4 in the morning on Delta Airlines. Shocking enough, they.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's
It's crazy what we're living in. It's bananas. The times are now, and when you look at stuff like Spotify fighting with Joe Rogan because
Mhm.
of misinformation, and it's not even Spotify. It's Neil Young and all these other folks that are fighting Joe Rogan. because they're saying that he's spreading misinformation. When has the government ever told you the truth?
Yes. Never.
Right? I mean, last time I checked, the government lost to lie to us. Joe Rogan actually took medication. It wasn't he wasn't vaccinated, and he's alive and well.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm a perfect example. I have lupus. Check this out. I suffer from thyroid stage 1 cancer. I have 2 thyroid tumors I got to get removed.
Yeah.
I have a broken back from a car accident in 2019, which hasn't been repaired yet. I have myxedema. That's my thyroid. It's called myxedema. That's the stage 1 cancer. Plus, I have several tumors to get removed from my legs, which were cancerous. One from my the chin part of the leg on my right leg, which is right above the ankle. It was about yay big, but the size of a golf ball, a little bit bigger. And I had 2 near my groin area recently removed. So I'm a walking cadaver. I'm like the Walking Dead at this point, right? I'm being held up by Scotch tape and in almost glue. Okay.
Right.
And as it is, I had COVID last in 2020. I joked about it here on the show earlier where my dad had it because his girlfriend gave it to him. They came over and said, "Hey, son, we just got back from the doctor, and guess what? We're COVID positive."
Holy
and I looked
crap.
at him and I said, "Dad, are you insane? Are you trying to kill me?" And he said, "What?" And I'm like, "How are you going to come to where I'm at and tell me that you just got diagnosed with a disease knowing my health issues?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And my dad's not a scientist, you know. He's not a brilliant man, obviously. And once he left, I went and got tested, and they told me, "Yeah, you have the kung flu. You're sick with it. So you got to be careful." And I tell you what, Steve, I didn't catch a cold. Like nothing happened to me. I didn't take. There was no vax yet. Operation Warp Speed had not come out yet. So I mean, I got nothing. I had no symptoms or anything. I went back a week and a half later, and they told me, "Oh, you're negative now."
Okay.
So did I ever have it?
That's a good question.
Who knows? My dad, who's been vaccinated now, he's been double boosted, which I don't understand that. If you're vaccinated, they're saying, "Oh, the vaccine will cure everything." But then they're like, "Well, you need to be boosted. Well, you need a second booster. Now a third booster and a fourth." Like it never ends, right? He's had 2 booster shots. He says he's not getting any more. And the reason is because after the second booster shot, a couple weeks later, guess what? He came down with the virus again, with the variant, one of the variants.
Right.
So I'm like, I even told him, I was like, "You see, Pops, what the hell are they putting in you? We're guinea pigs at this point because they don't know. Obviously, they tell you that it's going to be back to normal once you get vaccinated, but it isn't back to normal because now you need a booster shot and then another booster shot, and you need to still wear a mask. Then what is this? The new normal?"
Sounds like it.
Right? It's just freaky times. And this is why I often joke. I'm like, maybe they're setting up a zombie apocalypse with all these shots.
There's no telling what it is. I
You
know
know?
there's not vaccines, but there's medication out there that's a lot better than these shots and the boosters and anyway, that's a better thing to do. And those things that have been told that work, they want to muffle that down and don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look how many doctors got muffled when they started talking about hydroxychloroquine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, we can't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to take that because of my lupus. I took it for about 5.5 years, and when my symptoms went away for lupus, which it suppressed it big time. I mean, I barely had any symptoms for about a decade. I stopped taking it, but I suspect that probably is the reason why none of this stuff has hit me. I mean, I am like if you ever watch a horror movie about the end of days, I'm the guy who dies first. Okay, I'm chubby and I have a lot of health issues. Why am I still alive?
God's looking after you. That's what the deal is.
And the big guy has a funny sense of humor. He's like, "Let's make him blind, bald, and chubby, but no viruses can kill this guy."
Well, that's something to think about. We had one of our citizens on patrol person is just recently, they found her dead on the front porch in her chair.
Oh, wow.
And she'd had all the vaccinations, all the boosters. She wouldn't allow anybody to come over to her house, and her own relatives, she wouldn't want them to come over. No, stay away. Don't even come up my yard, that kind of thing. And they found her dead in her chair, and I haven't heard, this was just last week, and I haven't heard what the reason was. But I'm assuming that it was like others that I've heard about. They died of a heart attack from blood clots.
Yeah.
And when I told this to this person that was telling me, they said, well, you know what? She said she was telling me that she was feeling funny in her head, that she wasn't having headaches, but she was feeling really funny in her head, maybe like low blood pressure or something of that nature. But it's probably blood clots, because I hear a lot of that from these people that get boosters.
Yeah, my uncle passed away in February of this past year, 2021, and he had just been vaccinated, and it was blood clots that killed him.
Yeah, I
And
hear a lot of that.
he had no virus prior. He had never been infected with the virus. He just got the vaccination because he was elderly, and they wanted to get all the elderly people vaccinated. He was like in his 80s, and sure enough, a week later, dies of blood clots and a massive heart attack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why it's scary. And now, there's jobs that want to, like, fire their staff if you don't get vaccinated.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry. If that starts happening, I guess we're going to have a lot of unemployed people, because the more and more I talk to people that have not been vaccinated here in Florida, the more of them are like, you know what, forget that. I'd rather collect unemployment than be vaccinated at this point. Something, a little bit of money is better than no money, and if it means not getting the jab. But at some point, they're going to make it, they cannot make it mandatory per se by law. But of course, this administration has broken all kind of laws, and they've done whatever
Yes.
the heck they want. Um, and they're telling companies now that you have to have your staff vaccinated if you have more than 100 people working for you.
Right.
And the companies are going forward with it because, of course, a lot of them collect money from the state and from federal governments. So they don't want that money cut off. And because of that, they're demanding their employees get vaccinated. Even though the president can't come out and say himself, it's federal law, you must be vaccinated. That's against the Constitution. But he can make it a mandate for companies to do it, or they'll pull their money. And that's what they're threatening these companies with. I worked for a company, for example, a while back, where they showed around, and I know the owner, and he told me that he's had the conversation with officials, and knowing some of the representatives here in Florida, I've had conversations with them. I'm not going to mention names, but some very high repping, people within the government here in Florida, and they've told me that this is a conversation that's really taking place, and that in itself is scary because while they cannot mandate it on the people, they apparently can on the companies, and the companies are going along with it. So the companies rather risk your life to protect their wealth than protect the human life.
Now you understand why they're having 2 million illegals jumping into the all over the place, getting flown all over into different states.
Yeah.
That's their new employees.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Those are the alien invading the planet, right?
Yes, that's it.
The border. That's the red flag alien invasion. It's illegal aliens from Guatemala, not from Alpha Centauri. And then getting back to ufology for a second, because I've always wanted to ask you, and I didn't get to ask you when we met in 2016, which was very brief. But I wanted to get your take on my favorite ufology cases and see what your thoughts on some of these are. And I ask, and every time I meet somebody from Mufon, like Rich Hoffman and a lot of the folks I've met over the years, I kind of pick their brains on some of these cases to see what they think of them. One of my favorite to research, and really something that I've talked about often, done specials on, and even have a lecture ready in case Mufon ever says, "Hey, Angel, we want you to come on and speak," because I'll be more than happy to do something like that. Is Roswell? What do you think of the Roswell case?
That's a very, very old case, and
Yep.
the way that was handled and taken care of, I don't believe it was a balloon or anything of that nature. There's other witnesses that came and gone, and some other witnesses that were basically paid off. And if it's balloons, you're not going to pay them off, tell them to shut up, buy them new trucks, a new house, that kind of thing. You're not going to do that. So there was a reason that they did it. It was to shut them up, and here, we give you some more money. So there's something happened, yes. And by the witnesses, the way they were split up in different areas, there was like, I don't know if it was 2 crashes or not, but there was 2 crash areas, and it could have been the same object. And one, there was pieces of metal all over the place, and then the other part was probably an escape pod type thing, and in a different area. That's where the aliens were, according to the witnesses that came upon it. So I don't rule it out as being fake. I think something happened. Something happened there. Yes.
That's where I'm at. Also, I think it's either something of that nature, and I do believe there could have been maybe a radar that maybe knocked them off course. And
Yes, it was. They were using the radar to concentrate on them, and they were bringing them down.
Yeah,
left and right as one area.
Yeah, I've read a lot about that. Another interesting aspect of the whole thing is also that around that time period, of course, we had just gotten out of World War II. Nikola Tesla had just passed away, and when we went and finished the war, we took, of course, Werner von Braun, all these scientists from Germany, brought them over to the U.S., and they, of course, had what they thought was the Hanabu and all these exotic flying objects that they're working on, supposedly. And Tesla had documented what he was working on, which was, of course, free energy and also a UFO-looking craft. That's part of what he was looking at. Ironically enough, Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump, was one of the guys that went in and took the paperwork from Tesla's office once he died. And 47 happened right after that. So another theory, of course, as for a while now, has been that it might have been a craft that was one of ours that was back engineered from something that crashed previously, and we were test flying it, and that's what crashed over at the Roswell area. And I mean, either or is a very strong possibility, but I don't think Jesse Marcel Sr. is that much of an idiot that he would mistake that for a weather balloon.
Right.
That man was not an idiot, by no means.
No. He's a guy in the military, and you're going to do what your superiors tell you to do and say. And that's just all there is to it.
Yeah. He was a military guy, 100% all the way. And I've got to meet Marcel III, Jesse Marcel III, and spoke to him several times. And I never got to speak to the son, Jesse Marcel Jr. Before he passed, but from speaking to the grandson, Jesse Marcel Sr., his son, Jesse Marcel Jr., saw some of the debris. Of course, I've seen a lot of video with him talking about it, and the way he described the material. I mean, there's no way that is just random objects here on Earth. That definitely has extraterrestrial written all over it, or possibly back engineered, extraterrestrial material. So I do believe personally also that is an authentic case. Now, let me move forward because we're limited on time here. Another case that always boggles the mind is the one right here behind me, right there. The famous case with Mr. Myers, or Billy Myers. What do you think of Billy and his historic cases or visitations?
I don't put a lot of anything into that. I mean, the photos that he has, anybody can remake them.
Yeah.
I don't care how old the photo is. I actually read a story that someone found the model of that ship up in his attic. So, I mean, no, I don't like any of the photos. Here's my deal with the photo. When someone says, "Hey, I got a photo of a UFO," I say, "Well, the first thing I want to do is get their phone or get their camera and look at all the other photos on their camera phone there or whatever they're doing, because I want to see what they're practicing with, or what they're doing, or taking pictures of. Because I know one thing for sure, I can take my iPhone, and if I see a UFO, I can press that button down and take 1,000 photographs in 2 or 3 seconds.
Yep.
So someone just comes up and shows me one photo, they're not impressing me at all.
No, and with the technology today, I mean, photos and video is just, a 12, 13-year-old now in his mom's basement can make that stuff with CGI easily.
Yes,
So,
CGI is easily identifiable if you look for the traits.
oh, I trust me, I know. I've used a lot of CGI material, and
Yeah.
not for UFOs, but for other things I work on, and I do my own video editing, and I know what to look forward, to the pixelation and whatnot. So when I look at videos, I'm like, yeah, that's fake. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could,
that's
I
true.
could kind of tell. The eye, once you train it properly, you can tell what's fake and what's not. But for the unseen eye, or the person who is not trained, they're easily duped into believing they're looking at something authentic, and it's sad, really, when you think about it. The people still believe some of this stuff, but hey, the Billy Myers stuff makes for great
Right.
posters.
Yeah, they sure do.
I loved back in the day when they had the X-Files and Mulder had it in his office, and I always
Oh
wanted
yeah.
one. And now I have it in my office. As you can see in
Well,
the
of
background
course.
there. Yeah.
Everybody needs one of those.
Yeah, especially for us true believers, and I am a true believer. A lot of people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you try to debunk one, and the airplane, and you're always looking to debunk it." But to me, a true believer is not just somebody who believes everything, but a person who wants to get to the truth and to the fact of what's
Yes.
going on, and wants to kind of clear the muddied waters that we all like swim in when it comes to ufology, because there's a lot of hoaxing going on, and that's a sad thing on this field, that we have so many people that are willing to just fake stuff to make a buck.
Yes, it happens all the time.
And then move on. Some of the cases you worked on, I'm sure you faced a lot of that, right?
Not as much as you might think. Most of it is just not knowing exactly what they're looking at. Just flat out, period. Just they think it's something, but it's not. It's a reflection. And once you explain it to them, they understand it. And any photo that you have, like I see pictures of they have planet, the Nibiru planet is coming. It's next to the sun. Look here, see, we took a picture of it, and there's the sun blasting on the lens, and there's a little spot down there below it. Yeah, there it is. And no, that's a lens flare. And I saw a photo one time it was an old photo of Washington D.C. It was at night, and there was a scattering of lights above in the sky. And if you just look at it, look at the UFOs. But when you look at the photo itself, and you go down to the ground, you see all the lights that are pointed toward the White House. It has the White House lit up. You can take a straight edge and go from each light straight up, and it goes right to one of those lights that's in the sky. So it's a photo of lens flares. That's just part of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, a lot of that is mistaken. Now, what do you think of the Phoenix Lights?
Phoenix Lights. Now that was 2 different events.
Correct. Yep.
The Phoenix Lights, people actually saw an object fly flat over them,
Right.
and then shortly thereafter, you see some more stuff going on around the mountains over there. With some stuff going on over there. I think that they had a craft that, for whatever reason, flew off where it wasn't supposed to fly, and then they had to make it think like it was something else with a second event. But I think the first event of the Phoenix Lights was actually real, and they actually did see something, whether it's one of our fancy little jets that flies around or something else. I don't know, but there was 2 events going on, and they tried to cover it up.
Yeah, I believe exactly the same thing. Actually, I think you're right on the money on that one. And now, my favorite case in ufology, outside of the Roswell case, is the Travis Walton case.
Oh
What
yeah,
are your thoughts of Travis and the story over the years?
I've talked with Travis several times. I've interviewed him several times.
Yep.
I'm on Facebook with Steve Pierce right now and talk with him off and on. But the Travis incident, as many times as I've talked with Travis and as many times as I've listened to him, he never changes his story. His story
Correct.
is always the same.
Yeah.
And I work with the police, and you cannot maintain the same story year after year after year after. If it's a lie, you're gonna forget what you said. So
Right. Or you're going to embellish here a little bit here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, he has not changed anything. And I asked him one time, I said, well, Travis, I said, have you ever thought about having a hypnosis regression? He says, yeah. And I threw it out the door. He said, I don't want to do that. And the reason he said that was because he says, I think I actually was killed, and they took me aboard and brought me back to life. Yeah. I feel like if I regress, I might die. And I said, well, I don't blame you for not doing it. So, hey.
Yeah, but, interesting.
I have no reason to disbelieve anything Travis said on that event. And the things I've talked with on Steve Pierce, they're having some little problems back and forth about who said what, when, and where. But the whole idea for the idea of itself, I have no problem with it. I think it really did happen. Something did happen to those guys.
Yeah, I'm buddies with Mike Rogers. I've had him on several times. Great guy. I love Mike. He's a wonderful human being. And I'm gonna actually have Steve on here in the next few weeks.
Well, tell him you talked with me about it.
I definitely will. He's also I've had him before on the show years ago, and I mean I love Steve, Mike, and Travis. I've had them all on the show and interviewed them, and they're all three completely different animals. When you talk to Steve, Mike, and Travis separately, you can tell their personalities are completely different. Travis always seems to be a little bit more reserved. And when I first interviewed him, he brought up the concept of, well, maybe they, accidentally killed me, and what they did was they brought me back to life and fixed whatever was wrong with me, because if they're a scientific race, they might be doctors on board, and they say, oops, we accidentally killed this guy. And that made perfect sense to me. I told him, Travis, that actually makes sense, because you walked into something. It's not like they purposely said, oh, we're gonna go ahead and look at this guy and send him a beam of light and try to kill him. Yes, now, when you read the book, it's completely different. The book from the movie, night and day.
Well, that didn't come directly from. The movie was embellished quite a bit.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt.
A good movie, and don't get me wrong, it's an excellent shot movie if you're looking for like a horror type of alien, based on the true story. But when I read the book and I had seen the movie was something that I saw as a kid. And when I actually got to read the book, I was like, my God, this is better than the movie.
Yes, it was.
Why didn't they just make this? But then when you go to Hollywood and you understand that Hollywood works a certain way, and they like to embellish the nightmare scenario of the horrible things aliens could do to you. And, they make everything scary and creepy. But when you talk to Travis...
You have to ask yourself, who is making them do that?
Right. Yeah. That's an excellent question. And when I talked to Travis, I mean, he even said that he was very upset by that, because it wasn't even what he was initially pitched by Tracy Torme.
Yes.
I mean, that boggles my mind. But hopefully before, he gets much older, he's able to make another adaptation of the movie and make it accurate to what happened. Because, I mean, that to me is, honestly, when it comes to alien abduction or that kind of encounter, I think is the best one on record, to be honest with you.
Yes. Yes, so that's simply because he has not changed his story.
Yeah. I'm 100% believer on the Travis Walton case. I think that they definitely went through something. And again, I've had all three of them on the show. I'm a pretty good reader of people, and I'm a good judge of character. And they all have their own quirks and personalities and stuff. And I get along with them differently. Me and Steve, we get along a certain way. Me and Mike are like buddies. We chat all the time. Travis is a little bit more reserved. It's a little hard to get a hold of him sometimes.
Hmm.
Which especially Travis. This is not a guy who went out initially looking for like people to talk to about this. He didn't want the publicity. He didn't want to be a celebrity. In fact, when I last interviewed him, I asked him, "Would you do this over again and talk about this?" And he said, "No, I would probably have kept it to myself
Hmm.
if I had the chance." But I wasn't, it wasn't my choice. I was already out there when I got back, so not much you could do, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, Steve, we're almost out of time, but I wanted to make sure that you had a moment here. If you're working on anything, if you're going to be at any event coming up, please let us know so my listeners can follow along and go to any of these great events you guys are posting for Mufon and anything else you might be doing personally, especially in the Texas area.
No, I'm not doing anything that would be on a personal nature. I'm wrapped up in a lot of things with Mufon. We just sent out the director's handbook, and we made some changes to the director's handbook, and I at the same time had to edit the field investigator's manual at the same time, and that new manual is not ready to go out yet, but it soon will be. But that's the type of thing I work on, and I work on these averages. The symposium is coming up in July. Of course, you go to mufon.com, you can read up on all of that, on the whens and the when nots. And
the one is it going to be in Texas, or we're going to hold that one?
No, it's going to be in Denver.
Oh wow!
With Denver,
Very
Colorado.
Cool.
And
very cool.
I forget what days in July, but it's going to be in July.
Any chance of you guys coming back down to Florida anytime soon? Because I'm in Florida. That's when I went to the Orlando one.
Right. I don't know if it's. They don't tell you when it's going to be until the day of the symposium. So right. I have no idea where they're going to schedule it. There's three areas that they go to. One is Denver. The other one is Orlando, like you're talking about.
Yep.
My son lives in Orlando.
Oh, and, cool.
Then there's another one up in New Jersey area, somewhere up there that they kind of bounce around with. But I'm not sure where the next one's going to be, other than the one in Denver.
Now, do you have a personal website you want to give out to any the listeners, or just to get follow up on your?
I don't have a personal website. No, I'm on Facebook. I can look me up on Facebook.
Yeah, that's where we contacted you.
Yeah, just go there. I'm on that all the time. But that's about it.
Now, if anybody wants to get involved in MUFON, just go to MUFON.com and say if somebody wants to get involved personally and do some research, maybe join MUFON, because they just go there.
Sure.
It's easy to join.
Yes, it's real easy to join. Just go to MUFON.com and click on the membership area. And there are several different levels for membership, several different prices. And depending on which price you go with, depends on what you're allowed to look at and things of that nature. And if you want to be a field investigator, you can buy the field investigator's manual and take the test. It's a 100-question test, and you take it online, and you pass it. You're in like Flint, and whatever state you're in, and you report to your state director, and they go from there. Of course, it's a learning experience every second of the way.
Yep. Yeah. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much for spending your hour and minutes here with us, and letting me pick your brain a little bit. And please, I want to have you back on a lot sooner than the last time you were on, which is a few years ago. You're always a pleasure to talk to you.
Hey, I thank you very much, and just let me know when you want to have me come back on.
Thank you so much, and God bless. Have yourself a great evening. I know it's cold everywhere, so please, make sure you're nice and warm.
It's 57 degrees right now.
It's about to be 40 degrees here in Florida pretty soon. So
yes. Well, you have a good one.
You too, my friend. Thank you, and God bless. Have a great evening.
Okay, bye.
Take care, sir. That, folks, is the great Steve Hudgins Jr. And man, what a fantastic gentleman, a fantastic guest to have on the show here. The show is about to wrap up. I got to get going, sadly enough. As you know, that's why we have to move up the show an extra hour because of things that are coming up here with my personal life. But until next week, we have another great guest lined up, and I have now booked up all the way till I think May. We're booked up to. It's going to be a fun year. So stick around for more Inside the Jackal's Head on PSN Radio and SoFlo Radio. Until next time, folks. Please keep your eyes in the skies. Keep looking for the prize. And if you see any aliens going by, call Mufon. Let them be known. And make a report. We need more of those. And we need authentic ones. So, till next time, love you all. Peace.